in the place with the thing. That's cool. It's in the studio place as well as on the video,
Oh, cool.
like next to the video.
I mean, it looks like we have 6 watching. So, welcome, Thomas, and welcome everyone else who's watching. This is
Welcome everybody.
round 2 of our live event. We are attempting to do it correctly.
Yeah, no, it's actually look how nice it looks now. It looks
It's,
like we know what we're doing.
yeah, that's the illusion we are trying to create.
All it took was for us to fail epically once. That's
What
all
is,
you need.
what did they say? Failure is the best teacher.
Something like that.
It's what I'm telling myself.
I'm going to try to bring up the this. This is what I want. Cool. We're getting everything put together. Give it a little bit, just like any public event. We're going to wait just a bit for people to trickle in.
Yeah, we're just gonna let the seats fill in a little bit.
Oh, and then we'll start chatting about stuff. There's a few things to chat about while we are putting things together.
Indeed. Once again, we'll be open for lots of questions.
Yes, yes, we will. All right. Oh, I paused. That's why. Cool. All right, great. In the meantime, how are you, Thomas?
Welcome back.
Our most dedicated live stream fan so far.
He's held in through the rough times.
Yes. Yeah, YouTube sometimes doesn't tell me stuff as well.
I've had that happen as like a number of times.
Yeah, that's why I've been posting it on Twitter and such throughout the day, so that hopefully people will see it and be pestered by the constant deluge of reminders, so that people can actually show up when the time comes. Cool.
It's
All right.
it's hard to actually make sure things are for things not to slip through the cracks. I have Facebook stuff all the time where people like, especially with things at like work, where they'll be like, "Oh, are you coming to hang out this evening?" I'm like, "What are we doing?" They're like, "Oh, we put it up on Facebook." I'll check, and it's like 3 weeks ago the event was created,
Yes.
and yes, it notified me, but it notified me once 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. All right, so we can start talking about what is going on and what happened last time, as things are still settling into place, in case there's anybody who is lagging behind and showing up. Some
Absolutely.
people last time missed it, and I understand that people were rather upset.
Which I would like to say, I am sorry you guys missed and that you were upset, but it was very touching to see that people were that you were all bummed that you missed it. That was very encouraging for us to do this second attempt.
Yeah, absolutely. No,
So
that's great. So hopefully some of those people will be able to make it this time. And honestly, this
yes,
time is way better.
oh absolutely, this is as it should have been.
Yes. So, as a reminder, as people are coming in, join us in the chat if you want to say hi. And we're on Twitter. I've got Twitter open, so I'll see if anybody extra pops in on there.
This feels very mission control-y with like monitoring. It's
Yeah.
very much all right. I've got you on my 6. We are ready to go. it's
That's why I liked it so much.
it's super
I
fun.
wanted to be. So, yeah, so some background.
Yes, tell them.
Last time, we had this wonderful plan, and it was a good plan, and it was almost perfect. We were using a software called OBS, which is a free software because we are a podcast doing this in our free time.
Yep.
And what OBS allows you to do is put a bunch of different stuff onto your stream. So you can stream through YouTube with Hangouts, which is just some faces. But OBS allows you to have multiple windows and pictures and things like you see here.
All the fanciness.
And we had everything set up, and it was all wonderful. But it turns out that laptops are not good, and I was trying to do it on my laptop, and that didn't work out.
Yeah.
So we struggled for like 30 minutes trying to get it to actually work, and it didn't actually work until we put it on Will's computer.
Yeah.
The desktop. Hang on one second. I'm going to be right back. I got to make a quick adjustment in the room here.
Yeah.
You tell people what we're doing now.
Absolutely. So, we are back for our second live attempt on YouTube to make some announcements, but also answer questions. So feel free to comment. You can tweet or comment in the actual YouTube video, and we'll be monitoring it. David's got the Twitter side of things covered, and we've both got an eye on the YouTube side. So please feel free to chat with us and we'll answer questions. We'll make comments on anything if you want to know stuff about us or the podcast. We do have a number of announcements coming up and things, but the big one is for another live event that we will be attempting later this week, and so we'll announce that once David gets back. We just got a comment from Ration, and I'm sorry, it said won't be able to stick around because it's 2 a.m. where they are. So I'm sorry. Time zones can be rough. But thanks for tuning in just for this little bit. It's glad to have you. And random question: are we planning on attending the big evolution meeting in Montpellier this summer? Ooh, I was actually not aware that was happening. I have to look at that. Welcome back. Your audio.
I'm back. Sorry about that.
There we go.
Cool. Okay. Good stuff.
Yeah.
I see we have another comment.
We just got a comment, and we got a good one. It says it won't be able to hang out with us because it's 2 a.m. where they are. So, time zones.
To attend the big evolution meeting in Montpellier. Which one is in Montpellier?
Yeah, I actually wasn't aware, so we'd have to double check that.
The answer big evolution
is at this point probably not likely. Just
that's true.
due to our current financial situations. If it's not somewhere in between New York, Tennessee, or Florida.
Evolution 2018, Joint Congress on Evolutionary Biology.
Oh, very
in
cool.
Montpellier.
Yep.
There you go. Yep.
Yep.
It's
very cool.
Conferences. Conferences are sort of a limited expense.
Absolutely.
So it's one of those where, one or two conferences a year, maybe, depending on which ones they are, depending on if some of them are small ones. My big conference every year has always been SVP.
Yes.
That's always been my top tier if I'm going to go to a conference.
So, and that's definitely something we would love to do in the future, is be able to go to more conferences and things like that. It's just a matter of logistics. I currently work a full-time job outside of doing the podcast, so time off and all that good stuff. But that is definitely something that we would love to be able to do, is go to things like this.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Potentially in the future.
What were you saying?
Basically told them that we were coming back to take more questions and to any comments or questions, we'd be happy to answer them on the tweeters and the YouTube, and cool. That we had announced a few announcements, but the main big one was our next live event. I did not reveal it because I wanted to get back.
So that's our big announcement. I'm sorry, I'm being distracted by my cat. There she goes. Okay, now I'm back.
We are on the internet, so it's fitting to have a cat nearby.
Yeah, that's true. There are certain things that we cannot control, and they are cats. That's all right, Kozu. You haven't missed anything new just yet.
We're still getting the ball rolling. We wanted to give everyone a chance to show up.
Thomas, yes, that is exactly the plan, and we will do that with this one.
Yes, we do plan
to archive the video.
posting
We
this as
didn't
an
do that with
actual
the last
video.
one because the last one was bad.
Well, it's there's enough violence on the news, so we thought we didn't need another train wreck online.
Heyo, look at that with the got him.
Burn on us.
So yeah, no, we will definitely be archiving the videos when they turn out well,
Yeah.
and I think this one is going quite well so far.
Yeah, as long as it sounds good to everyone, the system seems to be working. We're
Uh,
forging ahead.
so the big announcement from
Yeah,
last time, which has now been revealed, it's on Twitter and
it
it's
is.
on Facebook and all that. The reason we're messing around with live streaming and with YouTube for the first time is because we have gotten in touch with a number of expert scientists who
Mm-hmm.
are happy and will be talking to us. Happy to talk to us and will be talking to us. This is the
Happily.
downside of live stuff, happily stuff, about sloths. We're going to have
Yeah.
a special event where we're going to be talking about sloths with 3 sloth experts, Dr. Becky Cliff, Dr. Robert McAfee, and Ryan Haupt, who are people who study modern sloths, extinct sloths, and at least one of them does a little bit of both. So
Dabbles.
it should be fun. And you can bring up the thing.
Absolutely. Da da da.
Look at our cool technology.
Yeah.
It's all very exciting.
There it goes. So,
Yay, I figured it out. Welcome, Laka. So I apologize to everybody who is going to have to bear with me, as every time something comes up in the chat, I'm going to have to lean in awkwardly close.
you just need to grab your glasses, in that classic style of, as you're checking, just play it to your character.
So, let me see what
Yes.
I'm doing here. Chip on Facebook I'm sorry, on Twitter says, "Hey guys, love your podcast. Keep up the great work." Thanks, Chip. We love
Thanks.
your feedback.
Yeah.
You keep up the great work.
Indeed. Very cool.
Yes.
Welcome,
So
Chad.
sloths.
Sloths.
We are going to be talking to them. The plan is we'll have them, the 3 of them together with us in a setup, something like this, and we have questions to ask them of our own, and we'll see if they have anything that they really want to talk about. But mostly, we're hoping to collect lots and lots of questions from the audience.
Yes.
So we're getting questions beforehand. So you can submit them on Twitter. You can send them to us on Facebook. Some people already have on both of those. Or you can show up live like this with the chat right there over in the side doobly-doo and ask them there on the day. So we'll have a nice list of questions. I pointed in the wrong direction because the thing's mirrored.
I know it's that thing of like, if you look here,
If you look over here,
yes,
you could go
that away.
So yeah, so that's our big exciting thing that's coming up.
Laka comments slow.
Very characteristic.
It's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it. We have questions of our own that we'll be bringing up. Our the questions of the day. But we've already gotten a couple of people who have commented with some interesting questions, so we'll be basically just cataloging and building them up before we get to the event. So I'm excited.
That is the plan. Oh, we might have a Facebook comment. I'm trying to keep an eye on all the things.
Yeah, you get those two, and I can definitely keep
I'm
Elise
on
and
social
I
media watch
on YouTube. I'm always amazed when I watch like other Twitch streams and other things like that, when they're keeping up with the comments, and every now and then they'll show the comment stream. It's like, how are you like the ones who have like a ton of people all watching at once, and the comment stream is just flowing upward.
Yes.
It's
well, and then you catch the ones you can.
Yep.
I got 1 out of every 6.
That one.
We're in those nice early days where there's just enough people watching that we can actually keep track of them.
Yes.
Cool. Our Facebook question was, where's the direct link? So hopefully that person will be showing up.
Sweet.
soon.
Very
Unless
cool.
unless I missed, maybe that was a person who already showed up. I don't know. Handling a sloth is on my bucket list.
Indeed, I was about to mention we got that
I
comment.
have to get out to Costa Rica. One of our guests, Dr. Becky Cliff, will be. Oh, was you? Okay, I was wondering. I saw the name. I'm
Yes.
glad you made it. One of our guests, our expert witnesses, will be Dr. Becky Cliff, who, last we heard, will be video calling in from Costa Rica.
Yeah. So
She's working with the sloths down there. Hi, guy. Hey, it's Tut. You go by Tut, right? Before I start calling you Tut, if that's not the right thing, you let me know in the chat.
yes.
That's a guy I know.
Cool. Welcome. And yeah, no, it's one of those where the sloths are super cool animals, and then also, yep, there we go.
Cool.
And it doesn't hurt that they're extremely popular with the internet.
Yes. Yeah, our next live expert chat will have experts on house cats.
Yes. House cats and cardboard boxes.
I don't know if she's at the sloth sanctuary. That is a good question. Probably. That would be a good guess.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's exactly where she's going to be. That's a great question. We will have to ask her on the stream.
We'll add it to the pile.
So that's coming up. We got sloths coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Other cool things that are happening include. I'm trying to make sure that I'm looking at the camera.
I know. I keep checking the
Instead of
screen
watching-
and then
Yeah,
realize that I'm probably just staring downward toward as far as the camera is concerned. So,
My eyes
and as
point
you
in
can
different
see,
directions to
everyone.
begin with. What was I saying? So we got slots coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Other fun things that are happening include sometime quite soon. There are two things that we will be recording very soon. One of them is our follow-up extra episode for the survey.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a whole bonus episode separate from the main series where we're just going to talk a little bit about what we learned in the survey.
Yeah.
And then, so that last question on the survey that asked people to ask us questions, turns out people actually did have a lot of questions for us.
Yeah, people read the survey and filled it all out.
Yes. So we will answer those questions.
Yeah.
We're going to do a whole Q&A like mailbag thing going through those questions.
Absolutely.
That should be fun. Thomas says, speaking of xenarthrans, is there a fossil record for anteaters?
Ooh.
Yeah, there are definitely fossil remains. I don't know how good the record is.
Yeah, I don't know. I've not heard much about there being an extensive record. I feel like I heard at one point that there was like definitely some notable ones, but I'd have to double check.
Interesting. There are very few animals that don't have a fossil record.
Graboids.
Graboids. Yeah. Some sneak past. That's a callback for all the people who were here in the last
Yeah.
primary live stream. That's a good question. We'll have to look and see what there is in the way of fossil anteaters.
I feel like that'd be a really fun one to look into just because modern anteater skulls are already so weird.
Yes.
They look like just like a minimalist sculpture. That's what I like. Just it's just this sloped, like, yam shaped. It's just just there's no
bring up
like
a picture.
Yeah,
I'll
there's not
share it in
many
the,
scully features.
That's what I was going to say, actually, that anteater skulls are not the most sturdy looking.
Oh, and that bottom jaw is just a toothpick going down it.
I'll put this in the chat and see if people want to take a look. That's the first one that I found on
We can
the
use
old
the
internet.
chat in fun ways like that.
Right?
Oh, the opportunities.
Well, anteaters as a whole are just a really cool group of animals.
Absolutely.
They're so weird. All xenarthrans. Xenarthrans are just super weird and wonderful creatures.
I think xenarthran, and I mentioned this in our slots episode, but the things they share, the fact that they all have very unique adaptations to survival, like they just stand out from other mammals, and the fact that they share weird things, like they all have big crazy Freddy Krueger claws.
Yes.
And it's like there's somewhere it's like, all right, that makes sense, but with the sloth it's like, well, you can climb with just fingers. Like, you don't need those.
They got the extra. Well,
Yeah.
it's like a tapir. Tapir can. Uh-oh, 404 on the link. All right, hang on a second. Let me see what I did
Womp
wrong.
womp.
Oh, all right. Hold on. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna do a little bit more work for that. I was gonna say a tapir can forage for food with just its regular nose.
It's that
You know,
extra,
that extra little help.
that extra little bit. You got to go that extra yard if you want to get the evolutionary gold.
You sure do. Well, now I can't find. Now I'm trying to get a picture that was as good as that first one. This will do. Cool. Yeah, they're just really long snouts. It's coming, I promise. With
The anteaters are coming.
really thin, non-particularly sturdy looking lower jaws.
It's yeah. I mean, because they don't use their jaw for feeding the same way
That should work.
other animals are. So it's just really it's just a holster for a tongue.
Yeah, it's just a tongue tube.
Yeah,
That's all it is. That's all you need.
And one the go the extra nose.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That is definitely what they're doing.
Yes. It's like the way I think about it with those animals a lot of time is when you're like in a video game and you have your XP points or whatever it is to fill out your character, and it's always like, all right, well, you got like 10 points left. It's like, well, I had a trunk.
Yeah, it's like you're playing Spore.
Yeah. It's like,
a
well, I can't
feature.
afford the like real trunk, but I mean, I'll put a little bit one on. I'll upgrade it later.
Yes, that's fine. I'll turn it into something. An elephant trunk eventually.
I'll work my way there.
So survey episode, that's coming up. We're going to talk about the survey. We're doing that Q&A. And if people like that, we'll do more Q&A.
Happily.
More listener interaction.
Oh, reading those questions was so much fun.
Oh, it's great.
It's so much fun.
Can't wait. And then the other thing we have coming up, this will be quite soon, probably sooner, is the poll is returning.
Yes, it's rising again.
We're gonna bring a special announcement for the poll for people that weren't around the first time, because people have been asking about our legendary Snakes versus Crocs poll.
Yeah, it's easy to forget that that's about a year ago that we did that.
Yeah.
So maybe it can be.
We will see which of our listeners love snakes and which of our listeners are wrong.
I knew it. Don't let him bully you. All right.
You got to decide.
You know, do the right thing. Do the right thing. You all know.
Someday you will meet us in person. You get to decide which one of us will shake your hand.
We're going to have pins, and everyone will wear their separate pin.
This line for Will, this line for Dave. Nose booster. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yep.
Booster. We got... Oh, I forgot to post this. I was going to post this today. I'll post it tomorrow. We got our second ever bit of Common Descent fan art.
Yeah, we did.
Which is very cool. So we will see this.
Oh, shots fired in the comment thread. But David, snakes aren't cute.
Snakes aren't. Now that says aren't cute.
Aren't skewed. I get it.
Nope. I thought we could be friends. I had high hopes.
I love it.
Tut is the only person in this chat at the moment who has been on the podcast, actually. Tut was one of the voices in our Diversity and Paleo bonus episode.
Yes.
Thanks very much for doing that, man.
Yeah, absolutely. That was really cool.
Really appreciate that. There was a blooper. There is a blooper. So we did bloopers. For any of you who aren't, if you're a patron, you know this, because we released an outtakes reel. But we sometimes will save behind the scenes stuff, and because a lot of stuff gets cut out of episodes.
Yeah.
Usually it's little things like ums and stuff like that.
Just try to
but
make it a little
every
more
now and
streamlined.
then it's something that was a little bit of a tangent. We'll leave that out. I made a joke that I was not happy with.
He was disappointed in
I
himself.
left the joke in. I didn't leave my reaction in. I prefer lizards, but snakes are a close second. Those snakes are pretty badass because they can mess you up without arms or legs. Darn right. Lizards are okay too.
Yes.
Squamates. Squamates in general.
Yep.
In fact, lepidosaurs in general. Just
You know what? You know
lepidosauria.
what? I'm gonna go a step further.
Reptiles. Just
Yeah.
metazoans. What was I? Oh, yeah. You will listen if you listen to the Ediacaran episode. There's a part in the beginning where we're talking about how to pronounce Ediacaran, and I mentioned that I was yelled at by an Australian man, and then I don't remember how it came up, but I made the pun. That it was Edie accurate, and something about Edie actually. And I left that in the podcast, but I didn't leave in when I was editing the part after that where I lamented that might be the dumbest thing I've ever said in a Common Descent podcast episode.
It was pretty.
It was a low moment.
It's pretty great. Thomas comments, and I think he has a good point. The Archosaurs are the best. So,
Archosaurs are
for the win.
Good.
Archosaurs
are good.
He brings up good points. That's all I'm saying. He makes a strong argument.
Archosaurs are up there. It seems we are at an impasse. Todd, it was our pleasure. Yeah. So that's coming up. We're going to do the poll. All you can vote. The voting is anonymous, so we won't actually know. Aside from the people in this chat whose names we are recording.
Yeah, but it's going to be the moments when we finally have a public appearance and meet people that are just going to be shaking their hand. Okay. You look like a snake person, so I'm going to let you shake his hand.
One of the things that we are hoping to illustrate with the poll and with these fun discussions is legitimately that, it's funny because it's a thing that happens in paleontology where people pick favorites and there's sort of fun little rivalries.
We used to have debates in grad school of whose thesis animal could beat up whose thesis animal.
Yes.
Well, I was very lucky
mammal people.
Because
you were gonna.
Most people were studying like bats and shrews and salamanders. The only person who gave me a run was Jeff, who was studying bison.
Yep. Yeah, my animal wouldn't have beaten your animal. Not a chance. And so that comes up, and the dinosaur people get made fun of by all the other vertebrate people, but all the vertebrate people are united in the fact that at least they're not studying fish. And there's all these like fun little rivalries.
Absolutely.
What we were, and this started with episode 7, where Ethan commented after we did the poll, and Ethan said, "You're both wrong. Primates." And we said, well, all right, come on the episode and tell us about your favorite animal.
Put your money where your mouth is.
Because our perspective is that every group of animals is awesome and fascinating. And whatever your favorite is, there is a body of worthy literature about it. Yes. And it's pretty cool.
Absolutely. Laka says Archosaurs are the umbrella of agreement.
Archosaurs are like, what's the comparison that I want to make? I had a good comparison, but it's a person.
Like the MCU.
No. Back that up. No, it isn't. Archosaurs are the super popular group that's like, they're popular and they know it. Like the dinosaurs all the time, dinosaurs.
No, it was a really good point that every organism really, has a ton you can learn about it. I may have said it on an episode. I know I've said it in an after chat or something, but I've long held the philosophy, and this is the way I've always worded it, that, and it actually has a story that goes behind it. I was hanging out at my grandmother's. She does not have Wi-Fi. And so I was just watching what was on TV, and a PBS special came out, hour-long special about ducks.
Yes.
Ducks and Ducks Alone, which sounds like the most boring hour ever, and it was one of the best documentaries I've ever seen. It went around the world. It talked about different ducks that live in fast-moving water, slow-moving water, diving ducks, grazing ducks, fish catching ducks. I mean, waterfowl is the more correct term, but it was titled ducks.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was so amazing, and I did not know nearly that there was that much to know about ducks, and that really clicked for me that every single animal could have an hour long and longer, but definitely an hour long documentary made about it, and it could just be just as good as anyone else. We just tend to
And
focus on the flashy ones.
and that is why we know we will never run out of podcast topic ideas.
Yep, yep, yep.
Um, Laka. Now, this person, I know your name, and I don't know if you would have a problem with me actually saying this person's name. So let me know. I'll call you Laka for now. Laka came up with the analogy that I was struggling to find. The
The
Yankees.
Yankees.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking about.
I I don't know enough about sports. I know they play baseball.
I am from New
You
York,
have to.
so I know the Yankees.
Yep.
Thomas studied primates in college, so they're his favorite mammal group. Good choice. Primates are pretty cool, minus all the human stuff.
That's includes my favorite mammal, orangutan, because
That's
long armed
true.
redhead. Um,
Oh, my favorite mammals are probably either I'm all about derived forms.
yeah,
So
he
my
likes the
favorites
weird
will
ones.
probably be somewhere in either Chiroptera, the bats, or
Yes.
Cetacea, the whales. Archosaurs may be like the vanilla or chocolate based ice creams, maybe too easily to go to, but also very easily likable. That's agreeable.
And it is a good comparison because I stand that vanilla is the best ice cream flavor. So I like this
Vanilla
comparison.
is on the survey. One person said that they wanted to hear more of our disagreements.
Yes, yes. Here you
Here it
go.
is. The places where we have epic battles.
I was tempted to bring that up when that came with that comment. I was like, well, we can just bring up our Iron Man if Iron Man and Batman fought.
Our Team Cap versus Team
Yes,
Iron Man
yes.
arguments. Dear listeners, you guess which one of us is Team Iron Man and which one of us is Team Cap. French vanilla is the best ice cream flavor. What's your favorite ice cream flavor, David? Well, thank you. I would say my most recurring favorite is mint chocolate chip.
That's a good one. That's a really good one.
That is my go-to.
Yeah.
Chocolate's fine. I think chocolate has to have stuff in it. I think for me to get really excited about chocolate ice cream.
I for me, if I ate a thing of chocolate, I feel like a weight. Like it's very filling and weighty, and it's just like. Dum. I like vanilla because it's very light and it's always been my favorite since I was a kid. I'm a very uh like pure person on the little things I like.
That's I I have some of those where it's my favorite thing is the obvious thing,
Yeah.
and that's okay too.
Yeah.
Your favorite is okay. So, just to interrupt our ice cream talk for a moment, we can always do more of that.
The ice cream
Swapping's
episode
coming
is
up.
coming up.
Surveys coming up. The other thing that I said, the polls coming
Yep, the
up.
poll.
I think those are the big
Yeah.
ones. We can always talk more about our stuff, but mostly we've been just kind of doing our rambly. Mostly we've been doing what we do for the half hour to an hour before the
Yes.
podcast every episode. So if you guys in the chat have questions or comments or things you want to say to us, let us know. We would love to hear it.
Yeah, at this point you have the wheel, so you guys can
Mocha chip.
direct. Oh, that is
I
a good one. I do
I
like mocha ice cream, and I don't drink coffee. This is one of the only forms I really like it in.
there was a coffee flavored ice cream when I was at Penn State. Penn State has apparently some of the highest rated ice cream in the country,
Hmm.
and their ice cream was very good. And I did like their coffee ice cream. But how do you scoop Napolitan? Oh, that is a good question. I think it varies. I think it varies based on the mood.
I don't actually have an answer for this.
I've never gotten into cookies and cream. Anything cookies and cream.
Milkshakes. I like cookie and
I
cream milkshakes.
cookies. I don't like cookies and cream. Pop tarts. I don't like nothing cookies and cream has ever really appealed to me.
I say nay.
I say no.
Ooh, this is fun. That's a fun one. What is our
Ooh.
dream fossil discovery? Thank you, Laka. Ooh, if you know, you can go ahead. But
Oh, dream fossil discovery. What would be
there's
my dream
there's
fossil
a lot of
discovery?
cool stuff.
I mean, it's that balance between like what do I want to personally find
Yes.
versus what I would most like to know.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, because one of the answers that immediately comes to mind is I would like to find a transitional bat or a
That
transitional pterosaur.
that was my first thought was bat
Just
actually.
because I want to know what happened.
What were you doing? That was actually one of my first thoughts was bat, pterosaur, or insect for flight.
Yes.
Like one of those three was the first thing that came to my mind. Um,
I'm trying to think what the best snake fossil would be. Like, what would be the coolest
mhm.
snake fossil you could find? Oh, that is tough. Honestly, I think that a lot of the time the most exciting fossils are um are the unexpected ones.
Yeah.
Especially for me, like I said, I like derived things, which are
Mhm.
things that are the most different from their original sort of ancestral state.
Yeah.
And so derived things are always surprising. So that's a lot of fun. Yes, that is Lauren. I think Will did not know that.
Oh, cool. Welcome, Lauren. I did not
That's
know.
yes, that's Lauren. That's our person who is like one of our top
Yeah.
social media correspondents. So
Very cool.
hello, Lauren.
Welcome, Lauren.
Tut says I had my first chocolate peanut butter milkshake yesterday, and it may very well have changed my life.
There's a reason Reese's is as famous as it is, and it's not just because they partnered with ET and Eminem didn't.
There's something a little magical about that chocolate peanut butter combination.
Yep. Yep. But no, for fossil discovery, I think a really cool uh, missing link or transition thing would be neat for one of the flying groups or something similar to that. I mean, there are plenty of other fossil mysteries of people saying well, turtles. That would probably be mine.
Turtles
A
is a good choice.
a the ancestral turtle transition between them and whatever they came from.
There's a little bit in the way of turtle transitional
Yeah,
fossils. Some really cool Triassic stuff.
absolutely. No, I mean we will eventually definitely get to a turtle episode because they're so much fun.
I was thinking of I was thinking of talking to Steve about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Steve's off doing. Steve has angled more in the direction of dinosaurs these days. I
Oh,
think.
really?
Then again, I don't think he ever actually stopped doing dinosaurs. So.
Cool. That's neat.
Yeah, but that would be a lot of fun. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say, and we'll say this on the next episodes that we record coming up, but the Gray Fossil Site has a podcast now.
This is true. Yes. Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
everybody should listen to it because it's actually really cool. Like you never know. Like I was like, oh, these are my friends, so I want to support their podcast. Well, let's take a listen. Make sure they're doing a good. No, they're doing a great job.
Oh
It's
yeah.
great.
It's so much fun, and it's a really fun one because it's not just them recapping the science. It's really them going through the process of the fossil site becoming what it is, and the history and the people, and both of the
Yeah.
site forming, but also the museum and the lab and their role in it. So I like it because if you've never gotten to work in a fossil capacity, if you've never gotten to volunteer or work at a dig site or a lab or anything like that. This will really give you a cool insight into what it's like to be at a fossil site for almost 20 years,
Yes.
which is very neat.
I'm excited to see to hear them talk a bit more about sort of their process and what's
Mm-hmm.
going on behind the scenes. That would be a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Lauren says, I want to find a turtle fossil in the Chinle. Yeah, that would be a great place to find him.
Yes.
That is good. I gotta go. I gotta go. SVP this year is in New Mexico.
Ooh, cool.
So one of the field trips, I believe, is going to Ghost Ranch. So I'm hoping that I make my way to SVP and visit some of those sites.
Very cool.
Maybe you
I
can come this year too.
I need to get back to SVP. So that hopefully we can budget that in because that'd be a lot of fun.
It would. I was trying to. I lost one of the things here that I was. I popped the chat out into a separate window so that I could zoom it in all the way
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and see the words really big, which is working. But I can't. It also zoomed in my YouTube window because apparently they're linked because that makes sense. So I can't now. I can't see like a lot of the information underneath the thing. Oh well.
Technology.
Oh boy. Oh, it's so great.
When are they gonna figure this stuff out? What was it?
Everything is working
There's a
wonderful.
Jim Gaffigan uh, joke about that where he talks about why does everyone compare
Yes.
the fact that we went to the moon to their daily challenges. You know, they can put a man on the moon, but they can't figure out how to do this. And he's like, what if we'd never gone to the moon? Would people just be more complacent? It's like, oh, my car's not working. But what am I have got to complain about? We haven't even gone to the moon yet.
Let's see. Tut says, I'd love to head to SVP again. Last year's was a blast. Was that your first time at SVP? I will wait for the lag and the typing to catch up. Thomas, yep. Check it out. As we said in the SVP episode, SVP is a fantastic event,
Mm-hmm.
but if travel is tough and if registration is tough, and registration is tough
Expensive.
all the time, there are tons of smaller conferences that go on all year round. The Southeastern Association of Vertebrate Paleontology this year is in Aurora, North Carolina,
Yeah.
and that's registration for that is usually like
Yeah,
$20,
it's much more
and there's like
reasonable.
40 people there. So yeah, that those are really great sort of intimate meetings that are at affordable at all.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Well, and they have almost more of a like a hangout sesh sort of feel of it, where it's just like you and these other scientists slash researchers slash people following paleontology just get to hang out for a few days and you share each other's research and you learn about it. You get to ask. It's much easier to ask questions because you're not in a hall of 200. You're in a room of 20. And
yeah,
so you can
it's
just
yeah. There's not that. SVP has 1,000 people or
oh,
more.
it's yeah, it's I mean it can when I first went to SVP, it was within my first year starting the program, completely overwhelmed. I was just wide-eyed at all these already established scientists and I'd go into one of the talks and it was just over. I was not uh quite there yet. But then the next time I went, it more and more sunk in. But it was mostly just because of the size. I was not expecting quite that big of an event for just paleontologists. It's cool.
And just vertebrate
Yeah,
paleontologists.
exactly. Yeah, it's not even including everything.
I tried to send the link to the Grave Fossil site Facebook page, and YouTube is telling me that I did it wrong, and I contend that it is YouTube.
No, it is you who
There you
is
go.
wrong.
That should work. Does that
The
work?
name of the Gray Fossil Site
Nope.
podcast is A Touch of Gray.
Yeah.
Tut, so it's a very nice one.
I'm trying to send that link doesn't work. I'm trying to send the link to the. It's on Facebook. I'll figure it out. apparently we're a little bit touchy about which links we can send. We'll
Yeah, I
get it.
know.
We'll put it out there.
There, it looks like
We got to
it looks
scroll
like it
back up
popped
here.
up.
Might have to wait until the robot overlords take over. Yeah,
It's if it gets us self-driving cars, then I'm game for it.
I'm ready. That was my first time. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Did you enjoy it? It seemed like you were having a good time for the brief time that we uh, interacted. Lauren
I
says,
like
"Can
this.
anyone go to SVP or just professionals?" Anyone can go to
Yeah.
SVP. You could just walk right in there and buy yourself a ticket or registration.
Yep.
In previous years, sometimes people would just walk into SVP.
Yes.
But this past year, there was a person, it was all on one floor, and there was a guy standing at the stairs
Yep.
checking badges.
Yep. Yep.
So they upped security a little bit.
That happened at Dragon Con. I went one year and it was very just like, yeah, yeah, come on in. And then the next year it was badge, badge, badge.
Yep.
It was like
So
I blanked on his name, but from
happy.
Happy. Thank you. You knew where I was going.
I
Yeah.
sure did. From Iron Man 3
Yes. From.
is the reference we're making. You would just need to pre-register for field trips, workshops, and/or post-conference events. That is true.
Yeah.
You can check it out on this one I know off the top of my head, for paleo.org. Maybe I can hitch a ride with the neighboring NPS paleo guys. That's usually what, like in grad school, that was the strategy.
We'd get a van
Everyone
or a
was
bus.
going. Yep, we'd hop in a van and drive on over.
Yeah, and so it's definitely if you can coordinate with people, you can even it's very much like it's a conference, but it has all the same things that conventions have, where you can find people to get hotel rooms with. Of like, hey, I'm going to SVP. Does anyone else have floor space so that we don't have to each buy a hotel room?
Help.
So it's
That's what I told. I remember the first time I went to SVP in college, and I was an undergraduate. I had a bunch of friends who were all computer science, and we hung out not because of our shared science interests, but because we were all nerds.
yep,
And they were asking. I was super excited about SVP. It was 2008. It was in Cleveland, and they were like, "What is this again? Like, what is?" And I eventually I said, in terms you'll understand, it's PaleoCon,
yes, yep. That's
which is no, there's exhibition
yeah.
booths,
It's got
there's
vendors.
there's an after party. Yeah, it's a whole big thing.
That says he did have fun. It was a crazy amount of people, a little too in his head at the time because of a personal grad school hunt. Yeah, yep. Uh, but learned a lot nonetheless. More experience now, and not so heavy on the grad school hunt this year. So expect to be more relaxed. That's basically exactly what my first one was like. Is I felt like as a new grad student, I was like, I better go to as many talks as I can to like show that I'm serious and that I can like I was trying to take notes on everything. I was basically treating it like uh, a study program.
Yep.
And then the next time I just picked the ones I was interested in and took time to just walk around every now and then. It was much more just relaxed and actually enjoyed what I was doing.
I found that as the years go by and the more SVPs I go to, the longer I've been going to SVP, the fewer talks I go to.
Yeah,
Because I'm networking, I'm talking to people, I'm meeting people.
absolutely.
It's which is a shame actually, because I'd love to go to all the
Oh
talks,
yeah,
but also it's 9 o'clock in the morning, and I have a long and consistent history of dozing off uh, in what's the word I'm looking for? Big
yeah.
colloquium style
Oh yeah.
rooms.
Oh yeah. Yep, I had a few of those. And Lauren, there is always room for fossil groupies.
Yes.
Fossil groupies are some of the most fun people.
Kozu says, "I wish paleontology was more of a pursuable thing in England." I
Interesting.
don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I've not pursued it in England, but there's a lot of university. There's at least a couple of big university programs
Yeah.
over in England and neighboring countries. The NHM at London has a big paleo collection. If you're interested in getting involved over in England, we can put you in touch with some people. There's a
Yeah.
whole community we could reach out to.
That'd be an interesting thing though to talk about is paleontology as a field comparison by countries. How is it looked at? How is it treated different? Because different countries have different laws around fossils and different
Yeah.
protections. And I mean, like some countries, every single fossil is considered a national treasure, so they are actually considered government property and things like that. So that'd actually be very interesting.
Kozu says you can do it at some universities, but it was never mentioned before that level. That is pretty much how it is here. Like
Mm.
I'd never heard about paleontology. Like there were no classes, or I don't know about
Oh no,
you, but
yeah,
there were no, like in high school, there was no classes or anything. And I only there were when I was applying, there were only a handful of universities in the country that had undergraduate paleontology
yeah.
options.
Oh, that's very rare. You have to usually have either is a bigger or more scientifically focused school that does that, or it has a connection.
Or geologic school, yeah,
Yes,
like the School of Mines.
exactly. It has a connection to that subject somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I the only reason I pursued paleontology before I got to grad level is because I was already a interested in the subject.
Yep. Same here.
There were people in our grad program that actually talked about the fact that they were basically about to graduate college when someone mentioned that it's like, oh well, you seem really interested in this stuff. Would you like to go into paleontology? And they're like, do do what now? Rachel was the one that was telling me that she didn't know that was something you could do. She just thought it was something that you were interested in until someone mentioned something, and then she like changed tracks, and now she just got into a PhD uh, candidate
Texas, I
program.
think,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people end up I think that it's an overlooked fact, although it's not necessarily to be encouraged because it's a little tougher, but you don't have to go to grad school for the same thing you went to your undergrad for.
Oh yeah, no, not at all.
You can shift gears, and a lot of people do.
Yeah, there's some crazy shifts that happen.
All right, there's a lot of chat going on.
All right, so yeah, we
University
got
of
a.
Bristol is a school in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there's people. Dave Marshall is at University of Bristol. He runs Paleocast. He is one of the people that runs
Yes.
Paleocast. Uh,
This.
Basically had it beaten out of me by my rural public school education. That is unfortunately not as uncommon,
No, we would have
I
people at
think.
the museum all the time. I was surprised by how often it happened that parents would come up during a tour, and some little kid who was very interested in the fossils, I would have them. They would almost pull me aside, and we've talked about this, so I know it's happened to you too. But it was almost like a getting ready for an intervention where they're like, listen, he really likes this stuff, but he's not growing out of it. Like, is he gonna? They're almost saying, is he gonna be okay? Like, is he gonna have a
Yeah,
future? Is he, or is this a dead end thing for them? And we had to like talk them down and be like, no, it's what we're doing. It's fine. Like, he will not live under a bridge. Like,
I
but
had a
people,
conversation online with somebody one time who started by saying, "My daughter is really interested in paleontology. How can I talk her out of it?"
yes, exactly. Uh, and my
You
mom would
could
have
not.
my mom would have conversations like that all the time when I was going through school, and she'd be like, "Oh, this is what my son's off doing." And we were in a small town in North Georgia, and so you got a lot of retired folks and stuff that would just offer their opinion on
Oh,
my life
naturally.
choices, but they would just go, "Oh, what is he gonna do with that?" And my mom, being my mom, would just turn around and go, "I know, there's so many options, right?"
Yo.
Because she was so sick and tired of hearing it. But you do get that people will discourage it because they don't see it as a practical
Yeah.
you know concept or subject, just because it's not something you don't have the auto shop, the grocer, and the fossil ID hut. So it's not something
Yes.
people typically think of being a job.
And this is something that we talked a bit about in the Women in Paleo episode. We touched on this notion of, specifically in that case, it was representation for women in a
Yeah.
field. But you could extend that out to representation for a field in general.
Oh,
Is
absolutely.
that, yeah, if you see people doing it, one of the things, and I mentioned this in that episode, is that one of the things that always struck me is that when people grow up with the notion that this isn't something you can do as
Mm-hmm.
an adult, And particularly, we've put a couple of examples just in our off the top of our head notes here in this conversation for women and for other demographics. It's not so much only that they think, oh, okay, I can't do it,
Hmm.
but they grew up and they have kids
Yes,
and they
exactly.
think, well, my kids can't do it.
Yeah, it's
And if your mom doesn't think you can do it or your dad doesn't think you can do it, that's a huge barrier in the way of you getting to do it.
yeah. I mean, because it may not even be one of those 80s movies style thing where it's like, no son of mine's gonna dig up, you know. But it could just be simple of they don't encourage you to go to museums or they don't.
Well, it's like if you want to be a cowboy. It's like, all right, that yeah, but you can't actually do
Yeah,
that. That's fun to fantasize
I'll
about.
buy you a hat and a revolver and a lasso when you're a kid. I'm gonna
Right.
stop buying you stuff when you hit 12 because it's time for that's no longer a thing that we're going to encourage.
Yeah.
You know,
Uh,
but
Thomas says,
Kozu could follow that up.
"Oh, go
Uh,
ahead. I'm sorry, I'm missing
that
some."
he that they where was it falling behind. Um,
Yep, it's happening.
I
There's a
know,
whole
right?
conversation going on. Kozu
Uh,
said, "I have a degree in environmental
there we go. Thank you. I was
sciences,
trying
which
to
is not
find
all
it.
that far away. You can hop on over
That is
if you
that
want.
is
Don't feel pressured by this conversation. Do whatever
no,
you want.
but
But
that is a strong connector to a lot of paleontological studies. So that is definitely in the wheelhouse.
uh, all right, real quick.
Yeah.
Thomas says the closest there was to paleo was anthropology. That's common. I've
Yep.
seen a lot of people
Yep.
who end up going there.
That's it's easier to get people's interest when you're talking about yourself. So
Yes,
it often
humans.
that often gets a little more traction with the public, but definitely the
Uh,
right
I
wheelhouse.
would. I think AP Earth Science would be fantastic, but
Yeah.
Earth Science is often the overlooked. Even in college, Earth Science is the overlooked patch of science. It
Well,
seems.
and when you take earth science in like high school, it not only includes geology and tectonic stuff and volcanism, but it's also like let's go over the clouds and let's go. It's like just the science of
Yeah,
the
it's
planet Earth.
the Earth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's let's talk about the water cycle. It's like all right, well that's not really what we mean when we say earth science. It's
Well, that's not.
like
But it is. That it. We talk geology,
yes,
but an introductory Earth Science,
mm-hmm.
like the geosciences courses at ETSU, were there's a little meteorology
Oh yeah, that's
section and
true. That's
there's a
true.
little
That's true.
and that's what I would tell students. There's this perception of geology. You'll hear it referred to as rocks for jocks,
Yes.
which is the notion that it's the earth science is the easy option.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, say if you're not academically inclined, you need a
Yeah.
science credit for the football team or whatever. And kids would come into the geology class, the geology class with that mindset, and I would say, so the root of the word geology, the study of the earth.
This is true.
With this class, we are going to talk about the entire planet in 15 weeks. So buckle up.
Yeah.
All right. I'm falling behind again. AP Earth Science,
Talk about
more geology until college.
yeah.
Yep,
There's a lot of
that
times a
sounds
big
right.
gap there.
Thomas, we are both in that same position. Parents were encouraging of our passions for
Yes.
dinosaurs and fossils. That is a good thing to have. Break the cycle, yes. Oh, this, yes. I was laughing at this before. We are showing our Eastern bias. Lauren assures us that cowboy is a real job out there in Arizona.
Yes.
This is fair. That's a fair point.
This is yeah. That
Well,
that
I
is
was going to say astronaut, but then I was like, no, that's kind of a real thing now.
yeah.
So I went over. I did the other Toy Story character.
Yeah. You can't be a shark cowboy.
Yeah. Howdy, howdy.
Odie, odie, odie. Yeah, that is very, and that actually is a really good point. Um, there's really not many jobs other than like, I want to be a Super Saiyan. Like, there's not really many
And a
things.
pirate.
Yeah, there's not any that are just completely unfeasible. Uh, it's why Mike Rowe's Dirty Jobs was such a awesome show. Is it's like, do you want to be an ostrich wrangler? Did you know that was a thing? Because yes, it is. Like there's and that's we had a moment where we got to talk to future career oriented high schoolers at the aquarium that were uh, uh, like preemptive, not business majors necessarily, but trying to go on that track toward really a career mindset. And we got to talk with them just about our history and our profession, and give them some advice about just being a professional at something. And
Yeah.
that was one of the things I said is that the skills you bring to a job, there's really no limit to what skills can be used for, and there's no limit to the kind of jobs you can do. I get asked all the time, why in the world am I working in an aquarium when I study fossils? And it's because all these animals were once fossils, so I can tell you about them. And
Yeah.
that's how I use it.
That was a cool thing. We've said this on the podcast, at least an after chat,
Mm-hmm.
that notion that studying paleontology left us with this broad understanding of animal life in
Yeah,
general. So when I was working at the science center and they were like, could you do a presentation holding a few animals? Yeah,
sure.
the animals. Do it right now.
Yep.
I have tons of stuff about lots of animals
Yeah.
because that's what, yeah, you do comparative anatomy.
That's what, whenever people ask, what do I do here? I'll give them the thing of like, well, I do tours, I do this. But really, what I
What would
always
you
end it with
say it
is,
is
I know a lot of random things about animals.
you do here? Yeah, that's
Do.
my, let's put that on my resume.
Yep.
Hello, Josh. I think this is the first thing that Josh said in the
Oh,
chat,
yes,
unless
yes.
I missed
Indeed it
that.
is.
Another longtime follower. We had a lot of biology in our earth science courses. That makes sense. I
Mm-hmm.
could see that happening.
I mean, it's all sciences interconnect. There's no
Yeah.
hard lines between them. And so that's why you see a lot of overlap.
Kozu says earth science easy. That's horrifying to hear since I did that. None of it was easy. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I did it and I taught it. So I don't understand. You jocks are going to be super disappointed.
Yeah, it is a deep, deep subject. There's a lot you can get into. Ooh, what do we have
Gabe
here?
Santos and I have had a little back and forth on that common experience of facing the obstacle of discouragement from paleo by immigrant parents. It's definitely a running issue, says Tut.
Interesting.
He continues, not in our own lives anymore, but his experience building up to where he is now, as well as his influence on audiences of color, is an awesome story. Gabe, if you people in this chat are not familiar with Gabe Santos, you should look him up on Twitter.
Absolutely.
Gabe is awesome. But yeah, that is I have obviously not had the experience of being discouraged from paleo by immigrant parents, but I had a lot of friends in college who that was the first time I really met people who had immigrant families,
Yeah.
immigrant parents who were dealing with that. And for me it was this moment where I went, well, that's an interesting that's a weird foreign thing to me, that
Yeah.
notion of
A curveball I didn't know existed.
that there's that cultural baggage that comes along with some not mindsets of, oh, that's not something you can do, and that there's different perspectives
Oh, absolutely.
based on just where you're from in the world on job viability, which is an interesting thing to have realized for me, a person who has not had to deal with that.
Indeed. We have a comment from a name I recognize, Corey Harris. Uh,
Oh, hey, that's an interesting person. I've heard.
this is
That sounds familiar.
this is my brother. Uh, he says he's curious about technology advancement in paleo. What if you were an engineer or computer scientist?
Real quick, I do before.
Yeah,
Well, that's great. That is a topic shift. So
absolutely.
I just wanted to
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
finish
yeah.
up that
Sorry, yeah, yeah.
that
I thought,
no, 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 just to tie a bow on that conversation.
please
That
do,
is a
please do.
very it's a great conversation to be involved in, and
Hmm.
I'm very excited to see people like Tut and Gabe not
Absolutely.
only uh, working through that, but then sharing that experience with others. Tut and Gabe was also on that diversity and paleo bonus episode we did. So yes, keep up that
Absolutely.
the chatting about that stuff.
No,
That's a good.
and I liked your point because I have had that realization as well, where you have that moment like everyone's had a different path toward wherever they are, and it can be surprising things that can put you know curves or hurdles or whatever you want to call them along it. That you wouldn't expect that to be a factor that might make it difficult for you to get there, but things can
And,
step in.
and when you say you wouldn't expect it, very particularly you, the royal you,
Yes.
the people who didn't grow up
Oh, absolutely. Like,
that
and
and are now
everyone
having
has.
realize that, oh
Hmm.
yeah, no, that's something that other people have to deal with, which is
Absolutely.
important.
Uh, yes, I didn't mean to cut off that. I was excited when I
Oh
saw
no,
the
no, no.
name. Uh,
Technology advancements in paleo. What if you were an
yeah,
engineer or computer scientist?
there's a lot of stuff for that in paleo today. Lauren commented to
Oh
say
yeah.
3D scanners and printers are definitely big in paleo now. CT scanning fossils and making a 3D image.
Synchrotron
Hmm.
scanning.
And basically, you
Yep.
can make a really detailed 3D image of the item, which you can computer analyze. You can explore the inside of it without always destroying it. But also, it means that if I have this one of a kind skull in my lab, I can scan it, digitize it, and then email that file out to everywhere, anyone who's interested. And if they have a 3D scanner up to the task, they can actually, or a 3D printer, they can actually create it and do physical studies on it and things like that,
Yep.
which means I don't have to be shipping around this one of a kind fossil.
Couple
Um,
more years of this technology, we won't even have to prep anymore.
and there's also a lot of computer analysis, physics engines with
Yep. Tut said what I was going to say.
coding is definitely becoming increasingly important for data analysis. Absolutely.
Statistical software, all those
Hmm.
wonderful my favorite things in the world, among uh, cladograms,
Yes.
phylogenetic trees, which you can see in our logo. That's statistics. That's all. Somebody
Hmm.
has to program that and figure that out.
And we're increasing the amount of avenues that data can be analyzed from to where it can start taking a more complex analysis and view of the information you give it. Some
Yeah.
of the things that they're able
Uh,
to determine with statistical analysis now is really baffling.
yeah. There's also GIS work.
Yeah, a lot of that.
And he mentioned, Corey said, what if you're an engineer? I know a guy. I know a guy. I talked to a guy. I know a guy. I have spoken with a gentleman named Colin Palmer, who was originally got his degree in engineering, and he was working on boats, on aerodynamics and hydrodynamics in boats, and then later went on to get a degree in paleontology studying pterosaurs
Yeah,
and modeling their flight by applying all of his engineering principles to, how do the wings move and how do they achieve lift and biomechanics.
yeah.
So bring on the interdisciplinary stuff.
It's
That's the way of the future.
it's what makes huge advancements. It really is. Like it's very rare
uh,
that you have a giant leap forward in a field completely within. Like there's almost always influence coming in from the sides, and a lot more robotics nowadays for real world, mechanical testing. We covered one
yeah.
of the new segments on plesiosaur fins, and they printed plesiosaur fins and then moved them in the water with mechanisms to see whether
Yeah.
synchronized flapping or alternated flapping or following each other was more effective.
Josh says, where's the fun in that? Thank you, Josh.
Yep. Let's
Tom
see.
says, I worked with digital prep of CT scan data of fossils over several summers in college. Amazing technology. Yes, it
It really
is.
is. It's cool.
Tut says, I'm learning R for the first time. I hear that a lot. And I'm discovering that having the logical reasoning necessary for coding programs is an endlessly useful tool and skill. Yeah,
Oh,
that's one
absolutely.
of those. I have a friend who works in AI and robotics and stuff, and that he's been harping for years that, like, we coding needs to be earlier in education, and we need to. It's the language of technology,
Yeah,
and people. Well, the languages of technology.
absolutely. It's one of those where learning it is definitely not going to hurt you. Engineering would be
Uh,
useful in exhibit creation. That's a
that
good
is an
point, Lauren.
excellent point.
Yeah, it's is in
Stepping outside the
public.
research aspects.
Yeah, in public perception and relation. Of translating it to the public. Things like animatronics.
Yes,
It's a.
or even like documentary, like
Mm-hmm.
3D CGI. That's what I'm
Yes,
looking
exactly.
for. Someone's got to
Rendering.
make someone has to make the next Jurassic Park now that the actual Jurassic Park franchise has dropped the ball on wielding the paleo banner.
Yep.
Kozu says it's almost like working together is a good idea. Imagine that.
Concepts. Let's see. Corey coming back at Tut saying that I was curious about as a developer, figured there was a way to implement coding, but wasn't sure how it would be able to work together with the physical component of the field. And there's a lot of stuff. We actually used analysis for where fossils were found in gray to find the most recent elephants material,
the mastodon.
Mastodon, thank you.
Yeah, the surveying.
And it's one of those things where you know you can actively collect the data, but if you have it to where you can just input the data, you could code it to just continually analyze it every time you put new things in. Like, it would just be a living statistical document.
Yeah.
It's just something that a lot of things do, where you just put things in and it will update the output of what is the information's telling it.
And that links one of the questions we actually will answer on the survey Q&A, spoilers. Somebody asked about the application of GIS,
Yeah.
which is geographical imaging, geospatial imaging system software. So it's putting points on a map.
Gastrointestinal system.
Digital. That's it. Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what gastrointestinal syndrome. But yeah, that surveying is your mapping stuff, and there's huge continent spanning data sets for mapping fossil localities.
How they
Geographical information systems, Tut thinks. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Let's go with it. That's what we'll call it.
That's what I could Google it, but I don't want to pull away. Somebody in the chat can Google it.
The comment that the interdisciplinary nature of paleo is one of his favorite features, favorite things about it, and I'd agree. It's
at its heart, it's the way I always put it is the intersection of geology and biology.
It really is.
Just to start, there's all this other stuff.
When I told people, because people would ask, what do you suggest to study to get started here? And that would always be what I'd say. You can either start geo, typically, but you can start geo or you can start bio. And you'll come in and you'll have to learn a little bit of the other regardless of what you do, but that's usually how people come in, and each is valid. I came bio because it's animals. I know nothing about rocks for them. I'm not a rock person. What else do we have?
Thomas said something and we missed it. Where is it?
It's same thing in paleo. So much cool interdisciplinary research going on now.
It's a hard word.
And yeah, I know. Diplicynary.
Diplodocus.
Yes.
Like the unwanted stepchild of the bio and geo departments at my school. That is very common for paleo. I did when I was an undergrad, I was in a geosciences department, but all my electives I took bio stuff.
Yeah.
So I was always hanging out with the bio people.
I had that happen in a biology class one time, just because it's just a zoology class, and we were just learning about different groups of animals. And almost every class, there'd be a moment where we'd be going over a class, and I would have a moment like, oh, and then this fossil one. And then finally, my professor just went, you really like fossils, don't you? That was actually how I found out about the Great Fossil Site, because she came from ETSU, and she told me about it there. And then I came up for my my thesis, my senior project.
I did I took comparative vertebrate anatomy when I was at Penn State, because that's what I like. Bones and comparing bodies that's what paleo is in large part. And I think I was the only person in that class who wasn't pre-med.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
I had a friend. I had a lab group. It was me and two other people. And one of my lab partners, we would be learning about the cat or whatever. And we'd have to learn all the parts of the bone. About this is the ulna, this is the humerus, and all the features on it. and she would ask me for help. She'd be like, all right, help me, we'd be studying or something. And I would say, this is this feature, and in us, it's like this. But then if you look at this other animal, it looks like this and it does this feature, because I'm in that
Yeah.
comparing everything mindset. And I'd go on a little rant, and then she would stare at me and say, so the answer? All right, fine. My lecture is over.
Yeah, I had a number of times like that in my bio classes where it would be me and the two other actual like interested in animals people, and then pre-med is very, very common.
Lauren says
oh yeah,
Tut is correct.
yep.
So we have a consensus.
There we go.
Kozu did a few
Interdisciplinary.
Modrons on GIS. It's undeniably useful, but gosh, I found it gel. I agree. I did some GIS stuff when I was an undergraduate, and I never got into it.
There's a lot of those things, just in research in general, where it's if you aren't particularly inclined to it for whatever reason,
It could be tough.
It's just the definition of tedious, and it's just grueling.
Another new face in the chat for this conversation, Robert McAfee. Hey, if you've been listening the whole time, you heard that name earlier in this conversation.
Welcome.
By the way, let me know if I'm saying your last name correctly.
Yes.
That'll be important come Thursday. Also, a strongly biology side of things in my coming to paleo, so I feel you guys. Yeah, bio. I think for a long time somebody was telling me that for a long time it was one of them, and then it was bio or geo, and it's been evening out a bit more since.
I feel like geo has the more historical aspect.
Probably
that it was more of a
sedimentology,
sediment and a digging activity of basically digging through and analyzing the rocks and finding fossils while analyzing rocks.
Yes, and then people have been more appreciating that you have to understand development and bodily processes and physiology.
Well, that real acknowledgement that, and we made this comment in the dinosaur episode, that they're just animals. Fossil creatures are just more animals, and
at least the fossil animals.
Yeah, and that was not always the thought. They would treat fossil creatures very much as these others, these fundamentally separate, past monstrosities. And then as people started really kind of clicking, it's like, no, they're just like the animals today, just weirder different. Because we don't recognize them. Different to us, but they had babies, they ate.
Worked the same way. Blood's still red.
Yeah.
They put their pants on one leg at a time.
Unless you're a horseshoe crab, and that's
I guess insects in general, don't they?
Yeah, they're all weird colors.
Tut says, I'm a double major, and it's sometimes hilarious how much the trains of thought between geo and bio students don't overlap. So much pre-med. Yes.
Yeah.
That was something that happened in the ETSU grad department, that there were about a handful of the students were geography.
Yep.
GIS and stuff, and a handful were paleo, and there was like that's a bit of an exaggeration, but no, they were very, I don't want to say cliquish, but cliquish a little bit.
There was definitely
sort of kept separate,
a divide. There was there was not a lot of common ground to connect the groups. I had that same realization when I was in school, where I assumed everyone else was in biology for the same reason because I love animals so much, and I got in there, I was like, oh, it's very different than what I was picturing.
You guys want to save people?
Yeah, it's just not to say pre-med is bad or anything, but just for me, I was like, I didn't realize there was other options. Yes. I thought we were all just animal nerds, right?
Once again, opening our minds to other people's experiences.
Breaking down preconceptions.
I guess being a doctor's okay too.
If you don't want to go, clean up animal poop.
If you want to, yeah, if you, I want to work with animals after they die.
Yes, yes.
Thomas says not many people know that Charles Darwin had a strong background in geology himself. He referred to himself as a geologist.
Yeah,
His exploration, his writings in the Beagle and such were a lot of them were very geology focused. That is absolutely correct.
absolutely.
Robert says McAfee. Got it. Earlier shout out. Yeah, we were announcing the Sloth Talk.
Mm-hmm.
Mentioned by name. He says those scientists back in the early days had a more classical training, similar to a liberal arts education where they learned a lot of different fields. That's true. We're also in a more specialized time
That's a really good
where
point. Yeah.
everything is getting like you couldn't, and I think it'll happen. It's even happening over the course. We have SVP, I believe, and if I'm wrong, Robert might be able to correct me, but I'm pretty sure started as a subsection of the Geological Society of America,
I think that's so.
and then lots of people got into vert paleo, so we had a vert paleo conference, and now SVP is splitting off.
Yeah.
So scientists and the scientific communities and societies are ever narrowing and ever specializing.
Well, it's makes sense because it's if you've just discovered a topic or if you're just delving into a concept like during the beginnings of paleontology, it's not complex enough yet as a study for you to need to go yeah to for you need to go well no I just do snails. It's like all right but we don't have enough of those yet nor do we know enough about them for you to really you
Yeah.
can fill your time with multiple things because we're just getting started. But then nowadays it's like, I want to learn about fossil snails. Okay, which fossil snails?
Yes.
Because there's so much done about that where do you
Yeah.
start? There's just an ocean of knowledge now. It's very
Uh,
interesting.
Lauren says, if you have more than two legs, are they still called pantalones? Um, this is a very good question. Come up with a fun word for quadrupedal pants. There was a meme going around about that not too long ago, about
Oh
how a
yeah,
dog would wear. Tut says, I also think it's interesting. I got to lean in close
yeah.
because my eyes do not work. I understand the extent to which bio pre-med, especially, people can go through school without having to understand deep time/evolution, at least at my school. Not just at your school.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like bio students here should be required to take at least one earth science or deep time class. I 100% agree with that,
I
though
definitely would.
we are a bit biased in our perspective, of course.
It's kind of that difference between the practical like not saying that it's the equivalent to just a strict trade school. Know that there's anything wrong with that, but it's kind of that practical trade school mentality versus you know the academic side of truly understanding the scope of whatever it is. If I'm just needing to do surgery, I may not need to know what the origin of the appendix is. You know, but
I would argue,
I think there is an
of course,
enrichment to it. So
yeah,
it's
I
I
think
don't
it's a
disagree, but I
valid.
see why
Yeah, yeah,
there's
yeah.
a why there is that kind of shrug shoulders of like yes, but why?
Well, and it's also like, well, we've got our 4 years of undergraduate pre med are crammed full of classes. We got to, we're going to talk about the muscular system instead of,
Yeah,
the fossil record.
but I definitely agree that the not wanting to explore the more either deeper or origins of whatever your subject is. That was one of my favorite things when I first took biology in college. Kind of one of my awakening moments was like, oh, this is what I'm getting into. First bio class, the first thing we went over is all right, let's talk about the origin of the concept of evolution. And we went through a historical lesson on here's the first time it came up, here's the first time we start to see the suggestions of what we see today, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Uh, which has helped immensely because now I have those references to be able to say, Well, we've had thoughts like that before. That's not a new idea that is being suggested. Here's why we no longer hold that idea, or blah blah blah.
Agreed. I was listening. There's background noise. Let me know if you can. I want to see if I can get this. Tell me if you can hear this.
Is it a snoring cat?
Yes, it is.
I can't hear it, but I assumed.
Oh well. I was hoping you could hear. My cat snores.
That would have been a nice
cute.
treat for. Let's
Um,
see.
Quadriloons.
Quadriloons.
I'm
Yes,
cool with it.
I like that. That was my first thought. Lauren also points out that deep time is a hard concept for humans, and this is we were actually
Certainly.
talking about this at work today. That the whole concept of a million or a billion is not something the human brain can actually contain.
Yeah. No, it's out of our realm of normal experience.
Yeah. Well, there's no day to day or survival reason why you would ever need to count to a million. Like,
Yeah.
for just daily survival, there's never going to be that moment of, yes, but I need to know how much sand there is on this beach or else I will die. So,
Yeah. All right, I don't have any food. How many minutes until I starve?
yeah. And so it's not something our brain was designed to do. So it is really hard to translate that to people sometimes. Of like, no, when I say a billion, I'm not just saying a bunch. I literally mean a billion. That's a very
An
significant
actual
number.
number, yeah.
Yeah, that's.
Well, that's why we did that digression episode
Mhm.
to try to explore that.
Yep.
Tut's talking to you.
Uh, this was me too, Will. Plus, I discovered just how much the fossil record plays into understanding neurology. Yeah, that's one of the big things is
Neontology.
neontology. Oh, yes, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Your
Yeah,
point was correct too.
yeah, yeah,
Neurology too, but also
absolutely. But no,
neontology.
neontology is an excellent point. Um,
Neontology, which is a word that only paleontologists use.
yep.
Yeah. Neontology, for anybody in the audience or the chat or watching this later that doesn't isn't familiar with it, neontology is the opposite of paleontology, modern life instead
Yeah,
of ancient.
absolutely. And so,
But neontologists just call it biology.
yeah. But that's a really excellent, and that's what I try to tell people. It's why I put together the paleo tour at the aquarium, is to really emphasize that every single animal you see has a paleontological history, and uh, without the way it was taught to us while we were in school at ETSU, you cannot truly understand one without the other.
Yeah.
You cannot truly understand a fossil group without looking at the modern grouping, or at least closest thing to it. And you can not fully understand a modern group if you don't look at the fossil group, because that's where they came from. That's why they are the way they are. So, why do they have hoofs? Well, look backwards. You know,
Yes.
why do they have hoofs and not, elephant feet? Because those are two options for very similar, though they use the same terrain. So why are they not all stumpy elephant feet? You know,
Well, and that goes into one of the things that I always try to stress when I'm teaching evolutionary science and things like that. We talk about, sort of the way that you typically present, yeah, the question, right, how the leopard got his spots,
mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
why do, when you talk to kids and you talk, why does this creature have this feature?
Yeah,
Why do elephants have trunks, and why does this animal have this? The answer that most people will give you, and the answer that we teach people, is the function. I would say
how
an
it's
elephant has a
serving
trunk
them now.
so that it can do this,
Mm-hmm.
or horses have long spindly legs because it's good for running,
Yeah,
and that is true to a degree. But the other thing is that organisms have features because their ancestors had those
yeah,
features. Why don't snakes have legs?
yeah.
It's not really a good functional answer to that. The answer is because their ancestors didn't have legs.
Well, and it's
At one point, it might have been functional. Now it's just kind of how they are,
Mm-hmm.
because that's their, that's the legacy. It's
Yeah.
like looking at human stuff. Why do mammals swim
Yes.
by
Why do
moving their
dolphins and
tails up and
sharks
down?
swim differently?
Yeah, dolphins and seals and walruses swim like this, and sharks and fish and sea snakes and stuff swim like this, because their
Yeah.
ancestors' spines are different.
And so those things get overlooked because we're used to the modern groups. Why do elephants have
Yep.
trunks? Because elephants have trunks. What do you mean? They have trunks. It's an elephant. You know, but
Yeah.
okay, they have a trunk so they can grab stuff. That's a very good point. Why didn't they develop hands? Because other animals did that. Because that's not what their ancestors. That's not the developments their ancestors had
Not
started
the way it
with.
went.
So that's not how it went. But it's asking those questions and looking at the evolutionary history reveals those questions for you, questions you wouldn't think to ask, and that's why I like it.
Lauren says, I hear wheezy noises. Yeah, it's kind of this. It's that low hum of she's going, mm, but it's nasal. It's
Yep. Content cat
millions of fire
noises.
ants. Very good point. Count how many fire ants.
Yes, this is true.
Uh,
It's how many are biting me right now.
Thomas says, I've always found it fascinating how every modern animal, along with its anatomy and behavior, is entirely contingent on its evolutionary history. Yes,
Yes,
precisely. That's exactly
absolutely.
it. Josh says, from experience, that's an easier thing to teach children with modern animals when you can show the habitat and say, well, look, what do you need to survive here?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Oh, it's much more, uh, it's a lot more tangible
Absolutely, and there's
that way.
definitely valid aspects to it because just because you had an aquatic ancestry doesn't mean you have to be aquatic today. So you can change in very drastic ways, but the exact way that you're then surviving in your new habitat or lifestyle is going to be affected by it. So there's definitely really good points to saying, here's why we have this is it helps you survive this way. But
Yeah.
to delve deeper is to look at, yes, but why is it weird in this way?
Tut is one last question before I head out, which brings me to what I was going to say
Yeah,
is we will start wrapping up now.
I believe so. We've done some good time.
So we'll answer Tut's question, but if you folks who have been sticking with us have any final questions or feedback, how you think this went, think about that while we're answering this.
Absolutely.
What has been your most fulfilling paleo teaching experience?
That's a good question.
Go for it.
Most fulfilling paleo teaching experience. I'm trying to remember specific ones because I've definitely had a few where it's those moments when you can see the puzzle pieces fall into place for the concept that you're teaching on. Like I've had a number of times where I'll be teaching about some concept, and I'll have the person start filling in the next step because you can see it clicking where they're going, if it's that way, then this. Exactly. They're you now they are doing the same process of thought. But for specific ones, uh, I I think it was one. This was probably just it was partially. I was proud of myself for coming up with it, but also because of how well the kids received it.
Hmm.
Is oh, actually no. So that one was a fun one, but about how I described natural selection by describing people being born with webbed toes that live in the ocean, and the quote unquote freaks with the webbed toes is how I described it to
Oh
the
yeah.
kids. Would actually survive better, but I remember what it was, and David was actually there for part of one of these when I
Yes,
did.
I know what you're talking
Yep,
about.
when I did summer camp at the museum, we had an activity
In the Gray Site
at the Gray site.
Museum.
Yes, at the Gray site, we had an activity where we did plug for the Gray site. Um, we did a DNA extraction from strawberries. You basically mush it up in a bag with soap that breaks open the cell walls. You pour this mush into a cup, and then you pour chilled rubbing alcohol over it, and this extracts the DNA from the now mushed and broken open cells, and if you do it very carefully, it will float it to the surface, and then you can collect it with you. It works better with a toothpick because it's the fibrous wood, and you can collect up
Yeah.
this DNA glob,
Yeah,
and
the threads
yeah,
and globs
and
of
it's all
DNA.
pink because of the juices of the strawberry, and you just big glob of DNA. And we did this activity with a group of kids. I can't remember their ages. I want to say they were
We
about
were like
fit.
9,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. They were about 9. We
9 or
were right around that age group.
10.
Uh, we did not think about this when we were planning it out, but I started doing the intro for it. I went, all right, so do you guys, know about DNA? And they all went, no. And I was like, oh, you haven't gone over that yet? And they're like, no, we don't know what this is.
And they said, no person with a biology degree,
Yes,
we are but children.
yes. And it was just, I had not factored in that they might not have gone over that in class yet. I didn't know what point
Yeah.
in elementary school you talk about DNA. So this was their intro to DNA. We did the activity, and then I opened it up for questions, and the amount of questions and the types of questions we got floored me.
It was fantastic.
It was beautiful. So the kids started asking questions, and it led on. Like, we went way over time because I was trying to stretch it out as long as we could. The kids immediately started asking stuff. One kid pointed at the glob of DNA and went, so can I make a strawberry out of this? I was like,
Yes,
all right,
I remember that.
let's talk
So,
about cloning. Like, let's talk about, how that works. And then after bringing up cloning, the kids then had basically beat for beat the ethical discussion of the pros and cons of cloning.
yeah.
I had one kid after we talked about it, they're like, can you do that with an animal? Yes. Let's talk about Dolly the sheep. And then they went, could you clone a person? We haven't, but it wouldn't be any different than other animals. And then I turned it back and went, but should we? And then the kids went, couldn't we just clone like a bunch of workers and soldiers so that they would do all the work and fight for us and we wouldn't have to do it anymore?
Yes.
And then I went, would that be fair? And another kid went, would they count as people? I go, well, what do you think? And then one kid put up their hands and was like, I think they'd be people because they'd be the same as us, right? It was just fascinating. They were having the discussion. Then they asked,
Yeah.
what if I eat this? Will I become part strawberry? So we talked about hybridization.
I forgot that question. That's a phenomenal question.
It was amazing. And we eventually got into de-extinction with the idea of, cloning a mammoth and could you bring back Jurassic Park style? Completely led by the kids. Completely dictated by their questions. They were far more astute than any college group I ever had come on a tour. Purely because I allowed them to go in whatever direction they wanted to, and I didn't give them dumbed down answers. I just gave them the information they were requesting, and they used it and took it to the next step. And then I gave them that information, and they went to the next step. It was beautiful. It was awesome.
That's more generally to answer Tut's question, and I'll be quick. In terms of paleo experience, my experiences with I've had experiences with kids like that as well, and I was in the room for that one.
It was really fun.
I loved giving tours at the museum.
Mm-hmm.
I loved doing the labs at the for the undergraduates. I ran the Life Through Time lab, which was basically intro paleontology, and it was one of my favorite labs. We did they were essentially, it was 2 labs where it was comparative anatomy, and we had an enormous collection of fossils and especially modern skeletons. And the way that I had set up this lab was I just filled the room with them, and the lab required people to go from table to table and look at the stuff on there, and just to watch people be able to sit down and go, that's a koala.
Yes.
And just people would pick up the skulls and go, okay, that's what the teeth of this animal look like. So does it do and just have it being in a room where you get, because one of my favorite things to do at ETSU was to go down to the basement to the bone room, which is a lot less dirty than it sounds. The bone room was where we had all the comparative specimens.
Yes.
And
It
I'd
was
go down there and just
wonderful.
open up drawers and go, all right, chameleon skeleton.
Yep.
Awesome. And to watch people learn by just having stuff in front of them, the same thing with giving the tour, to be able to say, this is where the fossils are coming from. This is the site. That is you really see that connection form in people's minds.
Yeah, that true experience of discovery.
All right. Kozu says, I enjoy the live stream. I have entirely ignored my usual Twitch music stream in favor of this. Well, we won't tell your Twitch music folks if you don't.
But we appreciate
Josh
it.
says, Will, you're filling my teacher heart.
Thank you. And
Do it.
It was one of my favorite memories.
Lauren says, bad dino joke. Why can't you hear a pterodactyl going to the bathroom? A pterodactyl's not a dinosaur.
But I do love this joke.
But why, Will?
Because the P is silent.
There's a picture that's been going around on Twitter the last couple days. I mean, it was a picture or it was just text where somebody wrote, the joke was that a pterosaur and a tyrannosaur had a child together, and one of them's like, how will what will your husband think? I guess the tyrannosaur's husband. And they had the little and they're holding their little put tyrannosaur and he says, thank goodness the P is silent.
That's really clever.
Kozu says de-extinction is an exciting topic. Yes, it is. It has not yet been requested for the podcast, except by me. I want to do it.
Yes.
I love when kids explore ideas like that, says Lauren. They ask excellent questions.
They really do.
They do, yes. Absolutely. Robert says this live stream has been real neat. Looking forward to participating in Sloth Talk. We are super excited to have you join us. Hopefully everything goes as well and wonderful as it is going right now. With 5 of us. Hey guys, says Thomas. I'm back. I had to drop out of chat for a few minutes. Watch the new solo trailer. There's a new solo trailer.
All right. We know what we're doing after this.
What I miss? A whole bunch. You're going to have to just rewatch it. That's what you get for leaving us for Han Solo. I don't blame you. If they released the new Infinity War trailer during this conversation, we would have taken
it would have been a moment of us both going.
Hey, we'll be right back. Hang on.
Oh.
Oh yeah.
just
very excited. We now have 2 official requests for de-extinction. Well, folks, episode 35 is coming up. And as we mentioned in this last episode, we need to start taking requests for our next extinction topic for episode 35. So this is now leading. So maybe 35 will be back. I'm so excited. This is one of those that ever since episode 8, I like eventually we will be doing a de-extinction episode.
Yeah, we both had a couple of episode ideas like that where it's like, just like, soon we will get to do this one.
I now have 2 episodes outlined that I've never that keep getting pushed off the list.
This is
we keep getting wonderful requests. I won't tell you what they are. Someday you'll request them. Cool.
Very cool.
Thank you everybody so much for joining us. This has been super exciting and so tons of fun.
I've really enjoyed it.
This is our first time getting to really hang out with fans. With our listeners, with our viewers. If you guys enjoyed this and you want to do more things like this, let us know. We can do this. We could do Facebook Live.
Oh yeah,
there's all sorts of live stuff we could potentially do. A lot of people have been saying they want to see us do video stuff, and this is the easiest form of that.
It really is, because we just can hop on, and so we would be glad to do more of this if it's something you'd be interested to see.
So if there's stuff you want to see, if there's stuff you want us to adjust, stuff you want us to do, let us know. We welcome feedback, especially as this is our first live stream
Yeah,
experience.
just for the we just threw it
First try.
together today. First
Oh,
try.
oh, this whole thing?
What? No, we were talking today. Man, yeah, you want to try that? Yeah, okay.
And then I retroactively went back and tweeted about it. Um,
Very cool.
let's see. Kozu really enjoys the interactions instead of shouting questions at my screen. Yes, absolutely. Well, I know the feeling.
Is that's what we keep hearing? What was that?
Also, that was the other thing I was going to say. The thing that, you know how Josh says that uh, we were filling his teacher heart. This right here, direct from the YouTube, is a thing that I have been wondering when we were going to be able to do it. We had for a little bit a community in this chat.
Yes.
People who have not met having conversations about fun topics. That's, man, if I could dream of another outcome in addition to people just learning about stuff, the notion that people are coming together and having conversations and interacting, I would love for us to have a common descent community like this. And if these interactions are what you guys are really interested in, we will keep doing stuff like this. So cool. Sounds like everybody has had a good time. Will sneezing. So just so that our listeners know, as a final wrap up point, because of the particular way that we are doing this stream, and because Will only has one webcam, his recording software, his streaming software is using his webcam, which means that we can't actually see each other in our Hangouts chat.
Yes.
So I can't see what Will's doing in the moment. So just then, when Will was really quiet, I had to wait 5 seconds to find out why he was really quiet.
Yes.
It's worked out perfectly fine for 2 hours. That one moment finally caught up with us.
Yes, that's true. I was having a cough attack. my throat has been against me for the last little bit, and luckily it held out for most of this.
I've been coughing a little bit too. This is
Ugh.
see in the podcast we can cut it out.
Oh yeah, you
That's
never
the challenge. You never know that we were gross.
I was trying to keep the smoker lung sounding coughs, and it's from deafening everyone.
So, Thomas, Josh, Kozu, Corey, Robert, Tut. I'm going down the list. And especially Lauren. And the reason that I say especially Lauren is because Lauren's a patron.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you super so much. Thank you for joining us. This has been great. We will keep up with all of you. Keep listening. Keep getting in touch with us. Keep letting us know what you want to see, what you want to hear. And we will keep doing our very best.
Yes. Thanks, everyone. And Kozu, you go to sleep. 3 a.m.
Get to bed.
Yes, mister.
Man. All right, guys. We're going to check out. Thanks again. We're always bad at outros. Goodbye. We'll see you next time. Dun, dun.